Okay, we're going to move on. We're going to move on to public comment. So tonight's public comment, I'm going to read, and all the public comments I'm going to read have been emailed to the city clerk, who have passed them on to us. Or I believe that the Madam Clerk has sent in a PDF all of the council comments or all of the public comments for the council members to read on their own. And I believe that most of what I'm going to read has been received by all the council members anyway. So I believe that most, Council Member Taylor?
Yes.
Did you have a question?
No, I have a point.
Okay, go ahead.
The instructions are very clear at the agenda where to send the council comments.
Yep.
And they're sent to the council, and we all read them. It's already in the record. No need to read those again.
So I appreciate that very much. And so what I've done is there are 3 topics of comments, and I have picked a couple of them that represent all of them. So
Can we vote?
Madam Mayor, point of order. I believe our council rules say that anyone who wishes to have their comments read into the public record may make that request, and the mayor will do so. And I think that would supersede any informal.
I think.
Mr. Taylor, I have the floor. I think that our council rules should supersede any informal instructions that may have been issued.
Councilmember Taylor, would you finish?
My point is we have very clear instructions on the agenda on what public comments are. I think we should stick to our clear instructions and read the others in council comments or wherever you want to read them, but they should follow the process, because there have been lots of emails that have been sent that don't get read in, and just want to be consistent.
Okay.
We can vote on it, deviate from our rules or from our
I'm going to read council comments from each topic that we got, and there are 3 topics. And instead of reading 20 public comments that all say the same thing, I've chosen a couple of them. And if a council member wishes for me to read a specific one, I'm so happy to do that. So this is how I'm going to do it.
Madam Mayor, point of order.
Councilmember Boundy-Sanders.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'm sorry to quibble with this, but there were not 20 public comments that were the same. There, with regard to one topic, for instance, there were 11 of those 4 asked to be read into public comment. So I don't want the council as a whole or our listening public to be misled about what's at issue here.
Thank you so much.
And I once again want to raise the point that we have council rules that the council as a whole has approved that say any public commenter who asks that their public comment be read by the mayor will be read by the mayor. So I would ask us to adhere to our actual approval.
If they can't read,
thank you.
It's very.
I'm going to take. Forgive me. I'm going to take a point of privilege here, and I'm going to take a 5-minute break. No, I'm going to take a 5-minute break to consult with our attorney and Mr. Buchanan, and I'll be right back. Mr. Buchanan, we're going to take a 5-minute break.
I believe it says may be read by the mayor, not shall be. It depends on the mayor's discretion.
Mr. Buchanan, I'm going to call you, okay? Okay, be right back. Can everybody hear me? Okay, we're going to move on, and I'm going to read all public comments. Here we go. The first public comment is from a Paul Rossner. The agenda item or subject is the pride flag. I understand that a member of the Woodinville City Council opposes the flying the pride flag. I am outraged. At a time when diversity and inclusion is more important than ever, we must support the LGBTQ community. Flying the pride flag is the minimum we should do. If the pride flag isn't flown, then Woodinville will be taking a step backwards. I trust that the rest of the City Council will do the right thing. Paul Rosner. We're going to move on to council comments regarding the Halsey and Drawn properties. The first one is from Metamorphic. Dear council members, I've lived in the Woodinville Heights neighborhood since 2000. As a resident and homeowner, I have seen many changes to the city's character and charm during this time. Unfortunately, I feel many of these changes have been negative and implemented in the name of progress and growth. I feel very strongly that the Drawn and Halsey property should stay on the 6-year CIP list with the ultimate goal of being purchased by the city to be used as a common community area. Ideally, I would like this land to be used as a natural space, such as a park, community garden, or wildlife refuge area. These properties are centrally located within the city limits, and if used responsibly, could be a positive benefit for all Woodinville residents for decades to come. If this area is developed, trees will be cut down, slope stability and drainage will be negatively impacted, and it will never be the same again. Residents in the city have dodged a bullet for many years by developers backing out of various projects that didn't make financial sense for them. While the city may not currently be ready to pay the owner's asking price, removing it from the CIP permanently removes the possibility of the city acquiring a prime piece of mostly undeveloped land. I would kindly ask the council members to not only keep these properties on the CIP, but to also continue to work with the property owners to come to a purchase agreement. Remember, we live in Woodinville, not Houseville, not Apartmentville, but Woodinville. Respectfully, Matt Pauley, 18320 146th Avenue Northeast, Woodinville, Washington, 98072. The next one is from Gene Halsey Jr. regarding June 2nd, 2020, Woodinville meeting business agenda item number 6, approval of draft CIP project list. I, Gene Halsey, a resident in the city limits of Woodinville for 30 years and owner of the 11-acre Halsey property in Woodinville, along with my siblings, Randy Halsey, Mike Halsey, also residents of Woodinville, and Carolyn Halsey. The Halsey family is in favor of removing the 11-acre Halsey property from the CIP. Please remove the property from consideration of purchase by the city as soon as possible. Thank you, Gene Halsey. Hold on one second. The next council comment I have sent to us by our Madam Clerk is a public comment from a developer and a citizen of the city of Woodinville, Fargaduzzi. To the Honorable Mayor and council members, I attended the hearing examiner's meeting on May 13th. I was excited to see the city was moving forward with the Siphon 1 project. There was no opposition expressed towards the project during the hearing examiner meeting. And last Friday, the hearing examiner provided the approval decision the Water District and West Point have been waiting for. I'm writing this email to you as I thought this would be an appropriate time for me to put into perspective the impact the Siphon 1 permit has had on West Point's project, which has been out of our control. The city of Woodinville provided West Point's land use approval on June 17, 2019. The approval is valid for 2 years with a possible 1-year extension. The extension must be requested before the permit expiration by June 17, 2021. As West Point worked on the land use approval, we also worked to obtain the water and sewer approvals from the Woodinville Water District. Our water and sewer plans were deemed complete in September of 2019, and the Water District asked us to generate the Mylars for the plans to be stamped as approved by the district's engineer. We delivered the Mylars to the Water District. After a week, the Water District informed us that both the district's engineer and the general manager were reluctant to approve the plans because of critical permitting issue that had transpired with the city of Woodinville. West Point had no prior knowledge of such an intent by the Water District, nor did West Point know anything about the critical permitting issue with the city. Siphon 1 permit improvements was an unforeseen event. wholly out of West Point's control. We researched the matter and determined the permitting issue was related to the Siphon 1 station that transfers the sanitary sewage across the Sammamish River for conveyance into King County's metro system. Furthermore, we learned that the city had informed the water district that they were not willing to approve the proposed Siphon 1 permitting improvements. We came to find out that our project, land use, etc., had no value without the approval of the water and sewer plans, because the connection to the public sanitary sewer system would not be possible. We also found out that any further investment in the project would face substantial risk. Of course, this came as bad news to West Point, and since that time, we have been eagerly following the Siphon 1 permitting process. After some dialogue last year, the Water District agreed that they would approve our water and sewer plans once the city had scheduled the hearing examination and that the hearing examiner had issued the approval decision. Recently, the district has also reiterated the same, and with the hearing examiner approval decision, the Water District is planning to approve West Point's water and sewer plans on Monday, June 1st. We have accomplished obtaining our approval from the Water District concurrent with the approval of the hearing examiner's decision, and after an arduous climb and delays that we could not have anticipated. I have discussed this request with the Honorable Mayor Cook, Deputy Mayor Harris, as well as several other council members, and received very good support. Due to the circumstances and for all of the reasons explained, I believe there is a valid justification rolling back permit deadlines by 1 year for projects that have been affected by the Siphon 1 permitting improvements. This can be accomplished through an ordinance. I'm providing the following draft generic ordinance language below for consideration by the council. For land use and design review permits and any other permits that were dependent on the Siphon 1 project permitting improvements, 1 year shall be added to the permit timeline and granted to an applicant who files a written request with the planning department by June 30th, 2020. The applicant must have documentation from the water district that their water and sewer approvals were dependent and progress has stopped due to the Siphon 1 project permit.
Something's weird.
The granting of 1 year timeline to the permit is not included and will not affect the ability of the applicant in the future to request a 1 year extension prior to the expiration of the permit. I've also attached a letter from the Water District that I shared with the city last year. Additionally, I'd like to share that I have requested several ordinances similar to this in nature through the King County Council and other smaller jurisdictions that have been approved. Ordinance is a common tool for this type of request. For example, I have attached an ordinance that I worked through the city of Kent for an extension of my plat approval that was ultimately approved by council. It's very similar in nature to this request. I appreciate your support and thank you for taking the time to consider my request for Gadoozy. That is all of the public comments that I have from the Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, are there any other public comments that I need to read into the record this evening?
Madam Mayor, did you see the email that I sent?
I am in an email currently that you sent with 3 PDFs.
Okay. Yep, that would be it.
And I read through all 3 PDFs.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Councilmember Boundy-Sanders.
Of the emails from the public that I read that were sent to the city council email alias, Ghaffari's, Anderson's, Pregler, and Stefanzik's asked to be read during the public comment period.
Give me 1 second, please. Point of privilege minute. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate it.
Councilmember Boundy-Sanders, would you please reiterate those names? Repeat those names.
Yeah. Ghaffari.
Yep.
Anderson, Pregler, and Stefanzik.
Okay, thank you. I will read them. All right. Dear, this one is from Lisa Stefanzik. Dear Woodinville City Council, we have lived for 28 years at 17851 151st Way Northeast in Woodinville. This road is a steep hill and we are located 6 houses from the top In 2004, we were part of the neighborhood group that implored the city not to allow the drawn property at the top of our hill to be sold to developers. The reasons were obvious. Our street cannot safely support any additional traffic. The landslide risk with any development at the top of the hill is dangerous, and the property is an open space gem for downtown Woodinville. At that time, the city council wisely chose to put this property on a list to possibly buy. Now we are aware that the Halsey property adjacent to the drawn property is being looked at for development, and the city of Woodinville is considering removing these properties from the 6-year CIP list. That would be a big mistake. All the reasons for having them on the list are just as relevant today. Our street is still unsafe for additional traffic. The landslide risk is just as great, and the open space for Woodinville is so valuable with this large property in this unique location. We ask once again for the city of Woodinville to do the wise thing and keep the drawn Halsey properties on the 6-year CIP list. Please protect this open space and retain the safety of all the citizens and property at risk for landslides if the property is developed. Please read this email into public comments at the Woodinville City Council meeting. Thank you, Heinz and Lisa Stefanczyk. The next one is from Berta and Bob Anderson. Dear City Council, we live on 14719 Northeast 178th Street, Woodinville. Phone 425-398-0840. 5 years ago, our house developed a crack in the foundation on the side of the hill that goes up to the drawn and Halsey properties. We believe if this property were to be developed, that the additional weight and disturbance that the development on top of the hill would cause could potentially further damage or even destroy our house. This also could happen to other houses, people living on our hillside. Our street could also not absorb any additional traffic because of the steepness of the hill and various limited site areas, especially just before the school bus stop. I also know that the owners of the property feel wronged by not being able to sell the property. We understand that the city could do two things at once: purchase the property and keep our neighborhood safe by not developing it and purchasing the property from the drawn Halsey parties to make them whole. Please do not remove the drawn and Halsey properties from the 6-year CIP list. Please read this email into public comments. Best regards, Berta and Bob Anderson. This one is from Susan and Manucher Ghaffari. Dear City of Woodinville Council, reference to the long-time discussions and attempts on the drawn Halsey properties, kindly we, the Ghaffari family, request the followings from our City Council. As you recall, development of this property was rejected due to the obvious safety issues arising from developing processes. This involves the serious issue of lives. We strongly insist that the council not remove the drawn and Halsey properties from the 6-year CIP list. We request the city to purchase the property in order to discourage any future attempts in development on this property. Please read this email into public comments. Thank you, Susan and Manucher Ghaffari, 17901 151st Way Northeast, Woodinville, Washington, 98072. And the last one is from Art Pregler, Woodinville resident. Please enter the following exhibit into the public record, and please read the following statement aloud at the June 2nd, 2020 City Council meeting. I own and have lived continuously at 18402 148th Avenue Northeast in Woodinville, immediately adjacent to the Halsey property since 2005. The following photographs illustrate the amount of erosion that has occurred on the steep slope that separates my property from the Halsey property over the past 15 years. The slope has eroded from 4 to 7 inches at various locations along the boundary that separates our two properties. I have witnessed numerous trees lean and then fall in the direction of the slope as a direct result of erosion. I'm an architect, engineer, certified planner, certified municipal leader, and former assistant deputy planning director for the city of Los Angeles. I've worked as an architect, engineer, and planner in the land development industry for decades, and I can unequivocally state that the Halsey property would take an inordinate amount of capital to mitigate the steep slopes and challenging geological conditions on the site. The buildable living unit will not justify the cost of capital improvements. I believe several potential developers have examined the property and arrived at the same conclusion. It is conceivable that an irresponsible developer may eventually propose a collection of substandard improvements that cut enough corners to balance the cost of building out the site. If this happens, the city of Woodinville would be complicit and jointly liable in the negligent actions of the developer by knowingly allowing such development, given the factual evidence that is already in the public record dating back to the Woodinville Sustainability Study of 2007, which includes expert testimony from numerous consulting engineers and professional geologists paid for by the city of Woodinville. Thank you for your time and attention. Art Pregler, former Woodinville City Council member, former Woodinville Planning Commissioner. That is it for public comments, unless, Madam Clerk, you have any more.
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor, I would entertain a motion on our consent calendar.